Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there? It's Wednesday, January 31st, 2018, the day after the State of the Union. And I'm sure there's a lot to talk about from the State of the Union, and I'm sure it's a buzz. I've seen the ratings for the State of the Union, not that it means much of anything. We know how ratings go as they go. But for the most part, Donald Trump had a 75% approval rating among independents. His approval rating among Democrats was 43%, Democrats. And of course, with Republicans, it was 97%. So if you're a Trump hater, you're in the minority. Okay, you're well below your 30% mark. And of course, we're watching what's going on out here. If anybody is watching, if you're not watching, you should be. The Democrats seem to be really unhappy with all the success that has come from the president lately in the past year. Representative or Congressman Gutierrez, he decided to just walk out of Congress, or walk out of the State of the Union. He couldn't take it anymore when people started chanting USA. I guess he's not proud of the country that he's in. And if you have a representative who's not proud of the country that they're representing, do you really want them as a representative? Do you think they should be in that position? I think that some people really need to do some homework and take a look at who their representatives are, what they stand for, and if they're really working for you. Because if they're not working for you, then you might want to think about some other things. I mean, if anybody knows who I am, I conflict a little bit with government. And the only reason why I conflict with government is because I know what the meaning of government is. Govern is to rule, or basically. Meant, of course, is mind, is to rule the mind. It's mind control, is ruling or control. So to fall into that, of course, I was in it all my life. When you're trained that way, you don't analyze things and see them for what they really are. You take them at face value. And you've got all these people who are really mad at Trump. This has been going on for, well over a year now. They're all upset. The Women's March, it wasn't about women at all. It was about hate Trump. Well, if you're clearly in the minority, what's the purpose? And then again, I go back to the old poem that used to go, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Today's society is lacking wisdom. They can't tell the difference between the things they can change and the things they can't. It's terrible. I don't know how else to put it. There are some people out there who are clearly living in an alternate reality. There has to be. You've got one class of people who are thinking free, unchanged, the way it's supposed to be, this constitutional republic or constitutional government. Of course, that's what we're told, okay? And then you've got this other one who thinks that they're in an empire and they have control over everything. And if you're not the right guy heading up the team, well, then you have to go because you don't fit in with the team. And Trump went to Davos. It's the first time he's ever been to Davos. And if you know anything about Davos, it's a meeting about basically it's big corporations, Siemens and lots of companies. I mean, they all get together and they plan on where they're going to put their money, where they're going to build where they're going to do their work and put their budget. Lawmaking basically is what it was all about. But Trump wasn't playing the lawmaker game. Trump was playing we're bringing business back to America thing. We're going to make America great again. But on the same hand, if you are with China, you'll want to make China great. If you're with Asia, you want to make Asia, whatever country you're with, you'll want to make that country great. That country is your country. It has to be great, which is why we concentrate on America. We're not into globalizing everything, which is why the UN is upset. We've decided to cut back on the funding to the UN. They say they can't function without our money. Well, it seems as though that if we have such a high debt and we need to pay the debt back, then why are we shipping funds overseas? Why are we sending this money that could be paying down our debt, sending it to other countries? Especially when other countries aren't towing their own weight. And like Mr. Trump says, everybody has their own weight to pull. This is what we have to do. The biggest deal is that there's a lot of corruption within D.C., and the corruption goes really deep. It goes into pedophilia, human trafficking, child sacrifice. I mean, there's so much out there. If people knew everything that was out there, they would go insane. You can't fathom all the things that are going on. It's hard for one to believe. And then if you brought all this out to light, there's no way that people would even try to believe it. They'd say it's just so far out. It's got to be one of those movies, a sci-fi movie. This is not from a sci-fi movie. Brace yourself, people, because you're in for some surprises. Things are going to come out, but you're not even going to get half the information from what's out there. You're going to get terrestrial information, flying anti-gravity technology, things like that, free energy technology, terrestrial life. You're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about terrestrial maneuvers and visitations and things, all right? And you'll hear all about that. Some of it is true, some of it isn't. There's going to be disinformation and real information. It's up to you to figure out what's what. The thing is, there is a dark element that is here among us, and it has to tell us what it's doing, even if it's in code. And if it's in code, it's up to us to decipher it, which is why the laws are all spread out into different areas, because there's no one place you're going to look to find to get your freedom back. If you're looking to get your freedom back, you'll have to look at the Lieber Code. You'll have to look at the Trading with the Enemy Act. You'll have to look at the 14th Amendment. And then you've got to go to the United States Code. Everything is buried all within these codes. It's in there, but you have to dig to find it, okay? And it all comes down to the legal stuff. And, of course, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I never studied law, formally. I do it on the side, as a hobby. And I do things different than most people do. I don't use licenses because I have a faith, okay? And we go back to, it's not religion, because basically you're re-devoting yourself to a legion. You don't want to do that, or some allegiance. But it's a faith, and it all comes down to belief, right? To what you believe. It's in my case, I believe things a whole lot different than other people, which is why I don't use licenses. And yes, I do have encounters, but they are few and far between. And when I do have encounters, they don't go bad. I'm not your stupid guy saying, I know my rights. It's not how it goes. You have to be a responsible adult when you deal with these people. You have to show them that you're calm, you have a level head, and you know what you're talking about. The best thing is, or the most important thing is, don't talk. The whole idea is to enforce your Fifth Amendment rights and say, I have a right to withhold anything that may incriminate me, and I choose to make it everything because I don't know what information you have. I'm not giving you anything. So this is where they try to rope you in with well, you have to show us some sort of identification. We need to know who you are. And that's a trap too. It's all systematic. First thing they do is they flip the lights on. Do you know why we pulled you over? Okay. First of all, you're not a mind reader. You're not going to know why they pulled you over. Second of all, they're using emergency procedure using those lights. That's a felony in a non-emergency situation. You can remind them of that, but I wouldn't do it in a harassing way. I would just say, well, why did you pull me over? There must be an emergency. You're using emergency procedure. I don't know, do you need my help? Is there something wrong with my car? And leave it there. Other than that, don't give any information. Once they realize they're using emergency procedure in a non-emergency, in lots of cases they go back and they turn those lights off. Put on your flashes, your four-way emergency flashes. Even at that point, it's borderline. The memo: Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter what you are, you're going to find you corrupt people in both sides. For example, Steve Manchin is a Democrat from West Virginia, and Steve Manchin watched the State of the Union, and he made some pretty good observations. He says we need to work together. We need to stop this stuff and work together. And of course, it's when you use that divide, it doesn't work. Okay. Joe Manchin from West Virginia praised President Donald Trump's State of the Union speech Wednesday. He said Democrats who refused to stand were disrespectful. Okay. He said, that's the way I was raised in West Virginia. We have respect. There's civility still yet. There should be civility in this place, he said. That's disrespectful. Last night was disrespectful. And yes, you cannot like the president. I did not like, I personally, I didn't like President Obama. I never voted for President Obama. Okay. But I didn't do everything I could to undermine him. I didn't go out and arrange marches and have counter protests and things like that. Yes, I got a visit from a couple of the boys, but they know where I stand and they know I'm not a threat. And I wasn't trying to overthrow Obama's government. Luckily, with all that scary stuff I saw happening during the 8 years that Obama was in, now we had Trump. He has the hands on the controls. This switched all the control, which makes the Democrats furious because all the laws they wrote in so that they could use that for cover for themselves. Now they've blown their own protection. They've taken their own protection away. How do you explain that to you? How do you explain that to your family? And that's what I have to ask news reporters. How do you explain this stuff to your family? You're a key part of informing people of what's going on out there, of informing them of the truth. And media outlets like CNN, MSNBC, I'll call you guys out. I'll call you out as I see them. you know? You're not helping. You're not helping at all. And what are you going to tell your children and grandchildren in the future? When they say there was a violent overthrow to take over this government, there was a coup, it was going to take over, what role did you play? Did you sit behind the desk and the microphone and encourage this? Did you try to make it happen? Which side of history are you going to be on? Because somewhere down the road, someone's going to ask you that question. And knowing the sociopaths we have out there today, they're actually going to justify this stuff to their kids, and their kids are going to suck it up. I mean, if you look at what's out there, I mean, after all, this is the name of the show, right? What's out there? There are some loony bins out there. But there are some very nice people, too. I read an article yesterday where a woman who was going to the women's rally took her little Prius with all her little stickers on it, the liberal stickers and all that, off to the women's march. On the way, she broke down. She thought she had a flat tire. She pulled off to the side. She didn't know what to do. This guy pulls up in a pickup with his son. He says, "Is something wrong?" She says, "Well, I think I have a flat tire." He started looking it over, and before she could get too many words out of her mouth, he found out it was the bumper. The bumper had fallen down. It wasn't a flat tire at all. He jumped in his truck and pulled out some zip ties and laid right down on the ground, pulled this thing back together with zip ties to pull it into place to get her going. He never paid any attention to the signage on her car, and she thought maybe he might have been a Trump supporter, you know. She wasn't sure. But all this civility and all the helping with other people, you know. But she had this burned-in hatred. She couldn't get over it. And she still couldn't get over it, even after the man helped her out, except she couldn't help but think, you know, this might be one of those Trump supporters. This might be one of those people that I've been fighting against. Can we look at each other and see each other as human beings and not as race or political party or religious affiliation? Can we talk to each other like individuals, like real people? Can we have fun together? Can you enjoy your time together? You see, some people just love to hate other people. It's just ingrained in them. They want to see this one die or that one die, or, you know, bad things happen to this one or bad things happen to that one. Oh, I don't want to see them die. I want to make them wish they were dead. You know, things like that. Life doesn't work that way. Okay, you can hate things that people do. Granted, I do, and there are some things that I do that people don't like. I get it. It's all a part of being human, though. Okay. You can't hate the people as a whole. You can only hate those things about them that they do. And if you can stay away from that situation, you'll never have a conflict. And if you notice, with everyone you talk to, you'll talk to them different ways. You'll use different language with different people. If you've got a friend who's like really tight-knit, you'll have your little inside jokes that you'll tell to each other. One certain word or a key phrase or something like that. You can't talk to everybody like that. That's the way life is. Everybody has to be treated different depending on your relationship with them. You can't give yourself an immediate relationship and demand respect. You have to earn it. This stuff is all earned. It's on it's a merit system. Like your immigration. We want to go on a merit-based system. So there you have it. Everything is merit-based. Look inside. See who they are. You know, try not to let those things that divide us stand in the middle and keep us apart. Because I know a lot of people who are liberals and all over the spectrum, everywhere. It doesn't matter to me. Everybody has their opinion. And although I may disagree with their opinion, or I may not, But although I do, I don't dwell on it. It's not... I like to think about the things that keep us together, that keep us all as one. And by doing that, we try to help each other out. And I say by help each other out, by giving each other information that we can use, I don't know, for different things, for health or things like that. For example, this flu shot that's going around, okay? We tell you that the flu shot has been proven to be bad. It's not a good thing. As a matter of fact, more than 50,000 Americans are expected to die from the flu this season, okay? This isn't because the flu is just going around, okay? There are shots, there are flu shots, they're going out there, and it's taking older people. It's affecting the real old people, like with the baby boomers and all, and of course the real small ones, okay? Children, of course, they make it the largest number of infections because, of course, their body is still developing. And then, of course, the elderly, because their body's resistance is starting to go away with age. But people who are taking this flu shot, you're asking to be killed, okay? The CDC and other health officials have likened the outbreaks, which have remained steady for the past 3 weeks, to the epidemic of 2014 to 2015 that entailed 710,000 hospitalizations and 56,000 deaths. Okay, so my advice to you would be to do what I do. Stay away from shots. Stay away from flu shots. There are certain medical procedures you need to stay away from too, which would be like colonoscopies. First of all, there's no way they're going to get in your whole colon. If you know what a colon looks like, there's no way they're going to go through all that with that scope. It isn't going to happen. So, and all they're doing is they're doing damage to your intestines by poking that thing into it. You know, try to stay away from that stuff as much as you can, really. Our health is the only thing we have right now that we can really rely on. You can't rely on any one. You can't rely on the banks, that's for sure, because things are going to happen there. It's been rumored for a long time, although it hasn't happened. The rumors are still out there. There might be someone you can count on if you have a significant other, a partner. Wonderful. God love you. I'm a single man, so I pretty much have to fend for myself. But I've been that way all my life. It's been that way since childhood for me. So I'm a little bit different. Everybody has their own different life experiences, which shapes their personalities and how they look at things, how they judge things, how they prejudge things. Like prejudice. It's like what's good and what's bad. Okay. Well, nothing is good and nothing is bad. Okay, it just depends on how it's done. Is water good? Water is wonderful. You bathe in it, you shower in it, go swimming in it, you drink it, okay? What happens if your head's under that water for 10 minutes and you can't get to the air? I don't think that water is going to be too good anymore. In that case, it's bad. Fire, same thing. Cooking, great for cooking. Bad if your house is on fire. Everything has its appropriate use. And that's what you need to concentrate on. Nothing is good, nothing is bad. It just is until your experience with it changes. And that's usually what happens. We base things on experience, past experiences. And if you know anything like telemarketers do, telemarketers will tell you past experiences, it doesn't matter, move along, because every experience is a new one. Every time you pick up that phone and you make a call, it's a new experience. It's something else all over again. So you can't predict one over another. You just don't know how it's going to go. Alrighty, let's see. You're listening to, what are you listening to? What's out there? I'm Papa Bear. It's 11:24 in the morning here on the East Coast in the Great Pine Tree State of Maine, January 31st, 2018. Our only second show here. And goodness, we're going to take a break and we shall return.
The rising rate of autism is not just concerning, it's a disaster. No matter what the cause of it is something that everyone should be acutely aware of and actively helping out those in the community that have it. That is why Adventures in Autism was created. Adventures in Autism is a show inspired by our life with our son Seth and the many experiences his autism has brought to our lives. Each episode we bring you the topic of the week, news about autism, and resources to help you and your family or friends out in their own adventures with autism. Tune in Mondays at noon and midnight on lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com and get involved in the community. Let our experiences be an inspiration to you.
Attention L&M Radio Network listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the L&M Radio Network by calling 605-562-4203? No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 605-562-4203 to listen to the L&M Radio Network on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall. The Late Night in the Midlands radio network is deeply devoted to you, the listener. We feel it is necessary to bring you all of the information that you can use in your life. Each and every day you will find something to listen to here. And whether you come away from the shows informed, inspired, or entertained, it is our passion. We don't bow to corporations, and we don't have handlers to tell us what not to talk about. We bring you everything. Late Night in the Midlands, however, is fully listener supported. We need your help to stay on the air and to make sure that we get the bills paid. We need your help to keep the truth alive. If you feel that you have gotten anything out of Late Night in the Midlands, we would appreciate your support. You can become a subscriber and help us out on a monthly basis, or if you'd like, a one-time donation is fully appreciated as well. Every year, the average household in America spends over $3,000 on entertainment alone. If you could help us with just a tiny fraction of that amount, you would make all of the difference. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com and click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and as always, keep yourself informed.
What's out there? Ben Sound Music. That's what's out there. It's from bensound.com. Ben Sound says, hey, if you want to use my music, you got to pop in a plug. So here you go, Ben. bensound.com. That's where we get our music. Welcome back to What's Out There. I'm Papa Bear, of course, and no big deal, right? I talked earlier about government and things like that, and I touched on it a little bit and why I stay away from it and all. And the reason why I stay away from it is because of the way the laws were put together back in the 1800s, 1871, when they created the Organic Act, which created the United States, which is Washington, D.C., and its outlying territories, which would be like Guam and the Virgin Islands and things like that. We've got like 5 outlying territories. The Union States are not included in that because the Union States are independent states, like Germany is a state, and Israel is a state, and Britain's a state. Well, California and Texas and Idaho and Maine and Florida and South Carolina, they're all states. They're all independent states. That's why you have state constitutions, okay? And those states are corporations, the same as your federal government. It's all corporate, and the reason why they make it corporate is because they need to keep their bookkeeping on the funding, okay? The money that we're using, the Federal Reserve notes, they're not federal. This is private money, and it's private money that's used by the corporation, which is the United States. We're not supposed to have that money. That's an internal currency, and it's to be used within the confines of what is known as the United States. The thing is, the definition of the United States has been broadly defined to come right to your doorstep, and that's not the case. Also, all crimes are commercial in nature. They all derive in some way from commerce. So what they're showing you is that you have a legal or illegal fiction or illegal identity which is registered for commerce, which is where your birth certificate comes from, or what it does when they register it. That's your certificate in commerce, okay? So everything you do is in commerce. You don't have private property. It's all commercial property because of that name. And it's all held, it's not even your property, because once you hand a title to someone else, it belongs to them. Your title for your car, once you've sent that to motor vehicle department, they own your car. Your name is on it because you're just a holder. You hold that property. They want to know where their inventory is. If you buy a car and you don't get the title and you get what is known as a certificate of origin, that is your title. That is your title for your car or your truck, and that is your proof of ownership, and that proves that you own it, not the state. There's no dispute. See, if it's not in the files at the state, there's nothing they can do. Which is why when I got my truck, I got the manufacturer's statement of origins, the MSO back then, back in '97. It's an old truck, but it's a pretty old truck, and I keep it in good shape. And there's no title on my truck. I own it in allodial, and there are no taxes. Therefore, I don't register. And I also have removed myself from the voter registration rolls. I have returned my driver's license to make sure that my name doesn't get back on that list. I have the confirmations. I put them in a file. They're off to the side. And I acquired an ID. This is the one they asked me about. Non-domicile, non-resident. So it makes it known right out of the gate. Now, if you want to still use your driver's license but not fall kind of into their guidelines, then you might want to write somewhere on there retired. That way they know that you no longer fall under the jurisdiction of their under their jurisdiction, and that you're only using that for identification purposes only, and that's not for commerce or traffic, because traffic is also commerce. Okay, it's all commerce, like I said. It depends on how you read it. I'm going to go back to the State of the Union here real quick because, well, it was the big thing last night, right? Andrew Cuomo with the Clinton News Network, Communist News Network, whatever it is, CNN. Him and Nancy Pelosi sat down and they had a nice little chat last night. And it seems like, well, they just can't seem to get on the same page. You've got a news reporter who is fighting like crazy for the Democrats to go so far as to lie to the public, to defend them, and then meet with Pelosi. This was classic because she looked at him and she said, Chris, with all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. Hey, tell the man he doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't think he likes that. Mr. Cuomo has an ego. He has a big ego. Ego is a terrible thing. It'll destroy a man before it'll bring him up. Okay, so you have to be careful of that. But he's got a big ego. There was almost a fiasco on CNN with him and Nancy Pelosi. But I guess that there's something that makes people envious with the success of others, rather than rejoice in it and say, wow, this is going to be a good thing. Do you know how many people are going to benefit from this? As an example, black unemployment has historic low. It's the lowest it's been since they started recording it. Hispanic unemployment, all-time low. Okay. They put in, over 2 million jobs last year? Okay. I mean, things are picking up. There are companies that are moving back in, and things are picking up good. But it seems as though you've got a few people who just don't like to see our country be successful. And I compared this State of the Union with, one of Obama's. And if you remember ex-President Obama, he liked to say I and me a lot. I mean a lot. And the way people talked about Trump, you figured out, hey, we're going to hear, it's going to be another Obama speech. It's going to be about I and me, I, my, I, me, I. It's all about me. I didn't hear that. I heard America, United States, and the people. That's what I heard. As a matter of fact, I think what might have worried them the most is when Donald Trump decided that he was going to give the country back to the people and put the people in control. Do you remember this?
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again.
See, it comes right back to the people again. And it always, if you remember, government, right? In a democracy, basically, you are ruled by the consent of the governed. Okay, they rule by the consent of the governed, which means you have to consent to their government. Okay, where does it fall apart? Where does it fall apart? Where it falls apart is consent. Consent. Okay, and now I'm saying that because most people, they're fighting tooth and nail. They're not giving their consent. And you can clearly see they're not giving their consent. But they take them anyway as hostiles. Why is that happening? You're an enemy combatant, right? You're a belligerent, right? That's what it is. We know it's against your will. They know it. They know that there's no consent. But they presume it anyway. And then you wander right in their court and you give it to them anyway. You know, you got to pick them off at the gate. Say, hey, look, I'm not going to answer anything. The last time I went to court, I'm not here to answer the charges. I'm here to ask you where you get jurisdiction. Where you get your jurisdiction from. I didn't give it to you. That's all. It'll go away. I got hung up on. I thought they were going to throw the book at me. I got to the courtroom and you've been dismissed. Oh, dismissed. My goodness. Well, I'll be. But I had to wait and wait and wait. But if I'd pushed it, I could have gotten more. But why push it? At this point, there's no encounter. And no encounter is better than a bad encounter or a good encounter. Because a no encounter is a win. I use private license plates. I drive everywhere. I go all over the place. I use my truck. I use my bike. I use my car. The same way, I drive right through town. I go right past the police department twice every time I go out. It's not a problem. They know who I am. They know what I'm all about. And we get along fine. Everything is wonderful. I'm on the up and up. I'm doing everything lawfully. And they know they never have a problem. That's the key. They have to know who you are. They have to know you're not a belligerent, you're not combative, and you have an even temper. You must be even-tempered and matter of fact. You can't lose your cool because you think things aren't going to go your way. You can't lose your cool like that. And that's the thing with cops. I know you're going to shake like crazy, and there's always that intimidation factor. Always. Believe me, I know. It happens to me too. I get pulled over, oh boy, I start shaking. First time I got pulled over in my truck doing this, I looked at my passenger and I said, are you ready to walk? They're going to lock me up and take the truck. Within 5 minutes, they walked back to me and they says, Mr. Bixby? I said, yes, sir. Here you go. Have a nice day. I said, thank you, sir. You have a nice day, too. And I left. But all I gave him was my ID and my the identification I made up for my truck. And that's basically how it is. If you know where to stand and how you stand, and a lot of it comes right back to the certificate of live birth. See, in my state, I can take it back to the courthouse and I can claim that and say I own it. And I get a nice little docket number with a book and page, and all that information comes back to me. They send it back to you within a week. If you can't do that in your state, you might want to try starting a miscellaneous folder. It might cost like $30 or $35. Just ask them, how much does it cost to start a miscellaneous folder? And then you enter that into it. I also put in a hold harmless and indemnity agreement, which separates the public and the private. It places the certificate in the public, and that is responsible for all public debt, for all my financial needs. I haven't used it. I haven't attempted to use it. But according to the way the laws are written out, that should be enough to do what I have to do. I have both of those documents that are in the courthouse. They have documents, the books and pages. They're there. They are there. They are dockets. So they're court records. They're law. And once you take those papers into the court, then, and you say, look, you have no jurisdiction. That's all there is to it. And then leave it up to them. If they want to play games with you, you can just say, look, I'm here for the administration of justice. I have brought to the court the person, which is, of course, the certificate of live birth for the administration of justice, and give that to them. And like we say, a person is just a legal fiction. It's not you. Okay, there are two of you. It's confusing. I know it is. It's very confusing. There are some places you can go if you want to catch up early courses. If you want to go without a driver's license or anything like that, you can go to freedomfromgovernment.org, and there's a nice layout there that Trent has that he's shipping out to people. And tell him you heard it from Papa Bear, okay? Tell him you heard it from Papa Bear. And it's freedomfromgovernment.org. He has a nice traveler package, includes the license plates, shows you how to become, how to do what you want to do. And Trent is a very good guy. Talked to him a few times. We had him on Show Us Don't Tell Us once. But anyway, I digress. This is crazy. I saw something here. This has got to be Britain. Okay. It says drivers face fines for going 1 mile per hour over the limit. Well, I guess it's not Britain. They do kilometers, right? Road policing chief demands days of soft treatment come to an end. It says drivers should stop whining if they are caught. What is that all about? 1 mile per hour over. This is Bingham, Anthony Bingham. I'm trying to find out where this is. I don't see a town here. MP, military police, National Police Chiefs Council. This is crazy. It doesn't. West Mercia. I can't tell where that is. They give you these Daily Mail, the Co-UK, right? And you look in here and you try to find out where is this? I'm looking at all this stuff and there's no place. Come on, Daily UK. You can do better than that, right? You can do better than that. They've got a big write-up and it doesn't show exactly where. Well, beware anyway. If you're going to be out there and you're going to be speeding, they might catch you doing 1 mile per hour over or something like that. And if they do, then, well, everybody does their own thing, right? 1 mile an hour over. I'd find a discrepancy in the tires. That's pretty simple. You're going to get 3 miles an hour anyway. That's just a given because of your tire sizes. They change the speed of your car. I know I went past a speed monitor out here, and it recorded me at 27. I was doing 30. It got me at 27. So it's about 3 miles an hour off. So, but you know how Gestapo, welcome to Gestapo, right? DACA. Gotta love these DACA recipients. The third DACA recipient in a week is arrested for human smuggling. Okay. Border Patrol agents headquartered in Yuma, Arizona, said they arrested a 26-year-old man who was a Mexican national, but in the U.S. under 2012 DACA program, after spotting footprints from 4 people who crossed the border near the Colorado River. They soon discovered the 4 people get into a white Ford F-150 pickup truck near a citrus grove. The truck was pulled over, and the driver, who lives in Salinas, California, was identified as a DACA recipient. The 4 other occupants were illegal immigrants from Mexico. The driver, who was not identified, was arrested on charges of human smuggling, and the 4 illegals were taken into custody. Authorities also seized the pickup truck. The arrest, which happened Monday, was the 3rd smuggling-related arrest in which agents arrested a so-called dreamer. In 2 separate instances in California last week, 2 DACA recipients were also arrested. So when they keep talking about this dreamer and DACA recipients and things like that, this is what's happening. We don't like that it's happening, but it is what's happening. It's the deal. Drug distributors. Remember the opioid crisis that we've got going on? In Williamson, West Virginia. It sits straight across the Tug Fork River from Kentucky. This town has sites dedicated to its coal mining heritage and the Hatfield-McCoy feud, and they only have about 3,000 residents, all right? But even though it's small, drug wholesalers sent more than 20.8 million prescription painkillers to that town from 2008 to 2015. Opioids, hydrocodone, oxycodone pills, they were provided to just 2 pharmacies and they're only 4 blocks apart. Okay. Committee Chairman Greg Walden, Republican of Oregon, and Ranking Member Frank Pallone Jr., Democrat, New Jersey, issued a joint statement on its findings. The committee's bipartisan investigation continues to identify systematic issues with the inordinate number of opioids distributed to small-town pharmacies, they said in a statement. The volume appears to be far in excess of the number of opioids that a pharmacy in that local area would expect to receive. The committee sent 3 letters to 2 drug distributors asking why they sent so many pills and whether the spiking orders for the drugs raised any red flags at the companies. The letter to Springfield, Illinois-based H.D. Smith says West Virginia court documents suggest that the company sent the 2 pharmacies a whopping 39,000 hydrocodone pills in a 2-day period in 2007. 39,000 pills in 2 days. A pharmacy in nearby town of Kermit was similarly inundated by pills from Miami Lucan, based in Springboro, Ohio. In 2008, Miami Lucan alone provided 5,624 pills for every man, woman, and child in Kermit, according to the committee's letter. 5,624 pills for every man, woman, and child in Kermit for the year 2008. The committee notes that a doctor in another state with offices 2 hours away was responsible for prescribing 39% of all oxycodone pills at a pharmacy in Atawny, Oceana, West Virginia. Yeah. That pharmacy was provided 4.3 million of the painkillers by Miami Lucan from 2008 to 2015. You wonder where the opioid crisis comes from? It comes from doctors who are prescribing this stuff to their patients, and the pharmacies, no one down there suspects anything. Oh, he's a doctor. No big deal, right? It's no big deal. Well, yeah, but that's what doctors do. Okay. You can't make money on dead people. You can't make money on healthy people. Okay. The only place you can make money is that sweet spot right in the middle. And this is what keeps them busy. It keeps the money in their pocket. It keeps you going back to them. It's cyclical. Okay? It's very cyclical. In my last few minutes here, I'm going to do my last few minute vent about the State of the Union. Hope I can get this out of my system today. Oh, goodness. Adam Schiff, the crazy guy with the wide eyes open. Adam Schiff said that the Democrats wanted to release a counter memo to the Pfizer memo. Okay, I think I spoke about the Pfizer memo a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to touch on it again. The Pfizer memo is only 4 pages. It's a condensed version of 22 pages that were written up to put together this investigation on Trump and the information it was based on for opening that investigation. What it also shows is that in the text messages, it doesn't just show what happened there. It shows that there was an active coup against President Trump, and it went so far as to infer that they would take out their family, and I mean assassination style. You're going to find some stuff in this paper that's going to really upset the whole bandwagon, and it's coming out soon. And when it does, you're going to have to be ready for it. Be ready for anything that comes, because I'm telling you, this government, there's been a coup in the middle of it for the past 8 years. I saw it happening. They took it away from Bush. Bush got a good start on it, don't misunderstand me. But there was that 16-year push. In the last push, they wanted Obama for 8 years, and they wanted Hillary for 8 years. Well, they missed Hillary. Hillary didn't quite make it, okay? Why? Why all the fighting? Was all this good news and everything that's going, why all the fighting? Why the uproar? Why are they still working to get President Trump out? He's going to be the president. This is one of those things that you can't change, people, okay? This is where you need the wisdom to know the difference between the things you can't change and the things that you can. This is one of those things where you're going to need serenity, okay? You're going to have to accept this. As much as I didn't like what happened with Obama the past 8 years, I had to accept it. Not many people heard about it. I didn't broadcast and say, hey, this is how my feelings are. I just let it go, let it go. You have to accept it and let it go. You can't complain about things all your life. It's bad for your health. Your health is the only thing it's going to affect, okay? And this is what keeps a lot of people on medications, is because of the stress that they bring upon themselves. It's unnecessary stress, okay? And something else is going to help you out. It sure helped me out a whole lot. But when you go to bed at night, when you go to sleep, when you get ready to lay your head down, make sure all your loose ends are tied up. Make sure there's no unfinished business, okay? There is nothing worse than waking up and finding out somebody you just had a blowout with has passed away, and you didn't have a chance to patch that up, okay? How are you going to take the death of someone that you've had something, that you've had an encounter with? Just a minor spat even if it's just minor. Think about that. Think about how it affects you and your health, because your health is the only thing that you have that's going to carry you through. Your health is the most important thing. Take care of it. And look up Dr. Mercola. He's a wonderful guy. He will give you some really good information on how to natural cures for cancer and things like that. Check out his website at mercola.com, and you'll see some wonderful things there. He even says it comes back down to the amount of stress that you have in your life. So you want to eliminate as much of that stress as possible. Get it right out of your life. It's not worth it. Your health isn't worth it, especially when you have bad health and they're pumping those meds into you and you keep taking them. Do you know what that's doing to your body? Everything you put in your body is medication. Even the food you eat. Think about what you're eating before you eat it, okay? You never know. You could be eating something in there that's really not good for you, okay? Do the research. I'm Papa Bear. That's what's out there.
Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there?